I'm so excited. I'm like over the moon, like so happy to have Ben he's actually the Bitboy. Okay, he's on a crusade to educate the unwashed masses like us on this amazing investment opportunity. Okay, you guys might have heard of it. It's called Bitcoin. Okay, so excited to be doing this episode on Bitcoin humor. I'm basically doing this for my own selfish purposes because I'm Chinese. I'm a gold digger. But I feel like that's too common now, so I have to upgrade to Diamond Digger. But even Diamond Digger is not cool enough, so I got to bring Ben on here to teach me how to be a cryptocurrency digger. So this is basically the best way for you guys to understand because he actually is hilarious. You guys should check out his TikTok, YouTube, and podcast, which are freaking amazing. And you guys are going to get rich while having some fun. So welcome, Ben. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. We're really excited to talk about Bitcoin and who knows, maybe get a laugh or two in.
I know, right? Like I'm gonna run with your information because you told me so much even in the intro. I'm just like, all right, it's gonna be good. So, can you explain Bitcoin to the 5 and 50-year-olds listening?
Yeah, so Bitcoin is something that's very simple, and it's so simple that people can't understand it, I think sometimes. It's just one of those things. Basically what Bitcoin is it is a form of digital currency that removes the need to have anyone else involved in your transactions. So like when you were a kid and you were, at daycare or whatever, and you wanted to trade maybe a baseball card for a piece of candy, like all you had to do was literally just hand that person the candy and that person would give you the baseball card or whatever it is. But the way we do transactions today is, if you're going to go to a store and you want to buy something, you're going to have Visa, you're going to have Apple, you're going to have someone else involved in that transaction on your side. And then also the store where you're buying it at, they're also have payment processors and things like that. So all kinds of people have gotten involved in our transactions. And what Bitcoin is trying to do is take that power back and give it to the individual. So if I want to pay you, I can pay you. PayPal, Venmo, nobody else has it to be involved. I can just send you whatever I want to send you.
That's the best explanation I've heard. I actually understand it now. So thank you. Oh my God.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was a great podcast.
So, because what I appreciate about you is like you like because I feel like cryptocurrency is so new, but the people who are so advanced, they're just talking in all these jargon. So thank you so much for simplifying it so much. I really love it. So can you tell us how you got started in this space?
Sure. So kind of to piggyback on what you were just talking about is I'm not a nerd. I'm a regular guy. I'm not super techie. I'm not into IT. I don't play World of Warcraft or anything like that. So my podcast, we call it Beards and Bitcoins. It's a podcast for the man's man because we do things like talk about sports and barbecue. We don't just talk about Bitcoin. And so the way I got into crypto is very interesting because it didn't have anything to do with me, being super into cryptography or anything like that. Basically, I ran a business where I sold sports and concert tickets, and I had to run a software to post ads on Craigslist to sell my tickets.
Whoa, you have software to post on Craigslist? Okay, this explains so much. Can you? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this would have been back in 2012, and the software I was running, I've been running it for a couple years. All of a sudden, the U.S. government took down the guy's website.
Whoa.
Because you're not supposed to use automated software to post on Craigslist. So it violated the terms of service. So they sued him, and they got his website shut down because he was in Ukraine. And he couldn't come to America, or he wouldn't come to America to answer the charges.
Right.
So the internet police, they took down his website and his payment processors.
What?
And so he just started taking Bitcoin. I was like, what is this crazy thing? I have no idea what this is. And it was so complicated. It was so hard to use. Like imagine trying to learn it back then when there wasn't even really information out about it. And so through that process, one day I just had extra sitting in my account, and then like overnight, it exploded and it was worth like thousands of dollars. And I was like, man, what is this? It got me really interested. And, it really wasn't until 2016 or 17 that I really got I went full blown into it and decided to start a YouTube channel and things like that. But that was how I first got into crypto.
Wow. That's an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that because it's not the typical way that people get into it. But this is fascinating to me. So, do you think people should invest in Bitcoin in general? Like, who do you think should and who do you think shouldn't?
Well, the answer to who shouldn't is pretty simple. It's basically if you don't have any disposable income, if you don't have money that you are willing to risk or to lose, then you shouldn't invest.
You mean I shouldn't be homeless to buy Bitcoin? What?
Right. I would probably say that's not a good idea. I actually thought about doing a video where, I don't know, I still may do this, so no one steal this idea, where I do a video called Giving Bitcoin to Homeless People. And I just go around and give Bitcoin to homeless people and show people how pointless it is to give money digitally to someone who doesn't have a house, because it would be ridiculous. And then of course, I'd also give them like socks or, I would do something positive for them,
Please make this video. That would be amazing.
I
Um,
probably should.
okay.
But
So,
but yeah, that's the thing is we always say like in crypto, this isn't financial advice, and don't risk what you can't afford to lose. However, I do believe that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general is the future of money, period. I don't think we'll be, exchanging pieces of metal 100 years from now. So if you do have any disposable income, and you are interested in investing, I would say it's an investment for everyone. I mean, really, the younger you are to invest, really the better. Even if you don't have a ton of money, the fact is that you have the most time to watch it grow.
I see. And do you feel like people should get more educated before they buy it, or should they just buy a little bit just to have it? Like, what are your thoughts on just when to buy it?
Right. So I pretty much tell everyone to just this kind of will sound counter to what I just said, but I tell everybody to just buy some. And when I say buy some, I mean a little bit. Like you can buy it on Cash App. It's very easy to buy on Cash App. I know
Oh, really?
a lot of the younger generation uses Cash App. So that's a great place to get started. Just put 10 or 20 bucks in. That's it. Just put 10 or 20
Wait,
bucks in.
what? I thought you had to put like 10,000 was like one big.
Well,
I'm confused. Yeah, can you
yeah,
break it?
no, you do not have to buy a whole Bitcoin.
Oh, you
People
put shares. Oh,
Absolutely. Well, we call them, this is where it will sound a little nerdy. We
okay.
call them Satoshis because that's the creator of Bitcoin. He's an anonymous person named Satoshi Nakamoto. And so, whereas with a dollar, you have pennies. With a
Right, right.
Bitcoin, you have Satoshis. That's the
Oh,
smallest fraction. Yeah, it can be divided into 10 million parts.
whoa.
So a dollar can be divided 100 times. A Bitcoin can be divided 10 million times. And so you can buy any amount. Like if you want to buy 10 or $15 worth of Bitcoin, you can do that on Cash App.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So usually
All
what
right.
happens is
Okay.
it,
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
sorry. I just want to finish the answer there.
I'm so excited. I had to cut you off. Sorry. Go ahead.
But what I was going to say is I just tell everybody to put 10, 15, 20 bucks, whatever is disposable to you in Cash App, and then just watch the Bitcoin. You'll watch it go up, watch it go down. And then that is usually enough to spark someone's interest, especially if it like goes up 20% in a day and people start doing the math like, wait, if I had $1,000 in this, I would have made $200 or, $100, whatever it would be instead of $2. And that's usually enough to spark people's interest to get more educated on Bitcoin. So it's kind of like you almost have to have the investment first to give you the motivation to look deeper on the education side.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my God, I got so much value. I hope the listeners are like downloading Cash App now and getting that because I think that just changes people's perspectives completely. I actually thought I had to buy like a whole Bitcoin. So thank you so much for sharing that. So why do you think people are so crazy in cryptocurrency? I feel like it's a gold rush time. Like, why do you think people are like this? Like, what are your thoughts on this period of time? And at the time of recording, it's December 2019. So what are your thoughts?
That's a great question. I have so many thoughts on that. First of all, a lot of the people that are the most interested and crazy about cryptocurrency, they are, what I call nerds. They're people that maybe not get out of their house a lot, or they may not have the best social skills. And I think that
makes so much sense at the conference now. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a lot of regular people in crypto also. I mean, don't get me wrong on that. I have a whole squad of people that I roll with. We do go to conferences together, and they're like totally normal people for the most part.
Okay.
Some of them are a little crazy, but I think that it's similar to like if you go to an anime convention or something like that. Like you go
There's
there
not normal people at an
yeah.
anime convention.
So some of the people are weird. I went and did a Bitcoin video at Dragon Con in Atlanta. And we thought there would be a lot of crossover, and there actually wasn't. But I mean, there are people that once you get them in their element, so when you get them talking about cryptocurrency, like they can talk about it and it's very easy flowing. But when you get kind of outside of that topic, it's just a wide range of people. But a lot of people, they kind of make fun of people that are in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because we're also passionate. Like that's one thing that makes this space different than other things is we are very passionate about changing the world. I mean, that's really what this is about. It's not about us making a couple bucks. Right. That's a great advantage to it. But Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is something that has the opportunity to really change the world. I would say only second to like what the printing press did. Yeah, wow. when that was created.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That explains a lot of stuff. So, okay, I'm a gold digger. Okay, Chinese descent. I'm a female who's trying to marry up. How can I identify a man who has the most Bitcoins at a conference? Or what advice would you have for selecting a spouse? Because you have a lot of wonderful kids. So what's your advice?
Yeah. So, if you're looking to be, a Bitcoin digger, you got to be careful though, because that sounds a lot like a Bitcoin miner.
So is a miner like, is it underage, or am I going to be in China updating servers? Like, can you?
No. A Bitcoin miner is someone who mines Bitcoin. That's what they call it when you create new Bitcoin.
So what do you have to do to mine?
Well, to mine Bitcoin, you basically have to have a computer that has a certain algorithm that it works nonstop to solve. That's what Bitcoin mining is, and that's what creates new Bitcoin. So you got to be careful if you're saying you're a Bitcoin digger. People might think you're a Bitcoin miner. So I don't really know what lingo you got to change there. But if you really want to go out and be a strong, independent Bitcoin woman that actually still does need a man, I would say that you look for the person that's not talking about Bitcoin, about how much Bitcoin they have. Just like with anything else.
Silent Bob type, right? Okay.
What's that?
The Silent Bob of the conference.
Exactly. Like those are the people you need to look for. You pay attention to what they're doing, not kind of what they're flashing. So if you follow them outside of the conference and you see them going to Ruth Chris Steakhouse or a nice steakhouse, then that's who you want to stick with. If you see somebody that is talking about how much Bitcoin they got, but then you see them getting a double cheeseburger at McDonald's, you might want to think twice.
I see. That's solid advice. Thank you so much. And that kind of leads to my next question. I don't know if it was just me because of my ignorance about Bitcoin, but as a woman, when I go to these Bitcoin conferences, I feel like I'm a little bit met with skepticism. So like, you touched on that a little bit in terms of like social awkwardness. So like, what would you advise for like women who want to go, or like people who maybe are kind of different from what a usual cryptocurrency person would be like on going, or maybe just a newbie who's feeling intimidated? What would you say to them about going to conferences?
It sounds like you're saying normal people.
Normal people. Okay.
Let's just go ahead and say it. A normal person that wants to go into crypto. What do you need to do? But I would say that the women topic is a little touchy because with cryptocurrency, it is. It's 90% men at least. And a lot of the women that I know in crypto, they've had a hard time in terms of crypto influencers, that's what we call them, people that have large Twitter accounts and things, because they get trolled a lot. And it seems like there is an element of like woman hating in cryptocurrency. And it personally really irritates me.
It's you guys started what, 2016? Are you guys already hate us? It's kind of
Bitcoin started in 2009.
Oh, 2009. Oh, sorry about that.
No, don't
maybe
worry.
That's why they got annoyed at me. I don't know. But thank you for showing. I'm not going insane.
No, you're
because I was like, oh, I feel this way, but is it?
Well, you also have to think of it like this. Like, there definitely is a part of crypto that is woman hating. I don't know why. I've never been able to wrap my.
That's kind of random.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to wrap my head around. But I think the more normal people that get into crypto, the less
Right.
that is prevalent. But I would say that that it's almost kind of like when you're in, I keep talking about when you're in kindergarten or daycare, but when you're in kindergarten and you like a girl, you make fun of her, you know?
That's true.
And that's kind of how those little relationships start is, you know, you say, oh, I don't like you or whatever. And like we said, a lot of people in crypto are very socially awkward. And I think it is kind of that thing where they just don't really know how to relate to women. And, you know,
And so they into Bitcoin. That makes sense.
yeah, exactly. But I've said for a long time, and that's why I'm so passionate about talking about being a normal person in crypto, not super nerdy or, you know, whatever the case may be. Because the fact is, if only people that are super techie come into crypto, the space is not going to grow. And we have to appeal to the normal person, your average everyday person that might be interested in, you know, investing or might be interested in computer stuff or whatever it might be, or gaming, for instance, like to get those people to come in. And that's the only way we're really ever going to be able to achieve, you know, change in the world like we want to do.
Awesome. Do you think they'll allow me to speak at their event if I become more educated about this and know when cryptocurrency started?
Yeah, exactly. Well, definitely there are opportunities to
sorry.
what's that?
I put you in a tough spot. Sorry.
It's okay.
So, in your experience, like, how is Bitcoin different from other types of investments?
Well, Bitcoin is different than other types of investments because it's I'm going to say it again, it's world changing. And I want to explain what I mean by that.
Yeah,
When you invest in Apple as a stock, like, yeah, they're making some cool tech, but it's not going to really change the world in a dramatic way. Like, yes, they had the iPhone, which has definitely changed our lives in a lot of ways,
absolutely.
but yet there were other smartphones. If they didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it. And you're still putting the power in the hands of Apple.
Yes.
But with Bitcoin, you're putting the hands and the power of the people because in 2016, banking was a $16 trillion industry.
Wow.
And if you were to completely remove the need for banks, because that's really what Bitcoin is doing, you're able to do transactions and you own all of your own money. If we were able to take that $16 trillion and put it into raising the quality of life overall in the world, like think about what that could do. Because banks are just middlemen. They take your money. If we all went to the bank today and we all said we want to withdraw our cash, they couldn't do it. Banks are only required to have 10% of the overall money that's in their accounts in terms of like liquid cash. So they couldn't even do it. They couldn't even give us our own money back. And you see in other countries where they go through a crisis and all of a sudden the government limits how much of their own money they can take out. And that's scary to me. And, you know, because of the power that Bitcoin has to change the world and to raise the overall quality of life, you know, you can kind of think of it like this. Like if we were to go back to the dark ages and we were to say, what was the average quality of life of, you know, people in poverty? It was much lower than the quality of life is now for people in poverty.
Absolutely.
Like people in poverty now live like kings compared to people who lived in poverty in like the 1400s.
Right.
So I think that's the important thing to know is you're not just investing in something that is going to make you money. Like you're really making an investment in the quality of life in the world.
I love that. I love that mission statement. Do people just become better when they become parents? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like mission on the world and like, you know, making things better. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do think that having kids changes your perspective in a lot of ways. I love being a dad. It's like my favorite thing. Definitely. I felt like it was what I was born to be, was a dad. So I got 3 kids. And, you know, you just kind of start thinking more big picture. And, you know, really, I think what it does is it humbles you because as your children grow up, you remember yourself at that age and the way that you thought about things. And your parents would say something and you would just be so wrong about it, but you really felt like you were right. But then when you're a parent and you look at your children when they're 6 and they're saying like, you don't understand, I'm going to die if I don't get to play the Nintendo Switch today. And it just puts everything into perspective for you. It just makes you realize like how naive, you know, you can be about different things at different ages.
That's so fascinating. So do you plan on like gifting your children cryptocurrency? Would you rather them learn to invest and make their own mistakes? It's like,
Yeah.
How, I mean, I'm sure you're already educating your children on it, but like how are you doing that
Yeah, my thing is definitely educating my kids on crypto and having them understand. I mean, we definitely have crypto set aside for the kids,
right now?
but they don't really understand it to the point of like, oh yeah, I would rather have a Bitcoin that costs $10,000 than like my youngest child, Mario versus Sonic Olympics for his Nintendo Switch. Like that's what he really wants right now. Like if I offered him that choice, he would take the video game that's worth 1/200th of the price or whatever it would be. But at the same time, like it's important to help them to understand, what this technology is and what it's going to do. And, a very interesting thing with kids that all my kids play Fortnite. They love Fortnite. And
Mhm.
Fortnite has something called V-Bucks. And V-Bucks actually has even been used to launder money through
What?
organized
Wow.
crime.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of qualities of V-Bucks that are similar to crypto. And of course, I'm not saying crypto is used to launder money, but some people do, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
the point here is that V-Bucks are a great way to teach your children about cryptocurrency, because while
Mhm.
V-Bucks itself is not specifically a crypto,
Mhm.
it is a digital form of money,
Mhm.
and kids are able to send it to each other. And there's all kinds of use cases for it. And of course, we believe that gaming is a big use case of cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
So V-Bucks is really a good way to teach kids. So, there's a lot of times when we're trying to teach them lessons about Bitcoin that we'll use it in terms of what they understand, which is a currency in a video game.
I love that. So, oh my God, so many things running through my mind right now. So, um, like, what does Bitcoin and money in general mean to you? Like, what's your philosophy on wealth?
Well, obviously it's a tool, it's a tool to get you where you want to be. I think the problem with people, and I'm definitely guilty of this myself, is when you use it as a tool and you get somewhere, you're immediately looking for the next ladder up, and it's like, if I were to say to myself when I was 20,
Mhm.
hey, when you're 37 years old, you'll have this, you'll have this, you'll have this, I would have been like, oh yeah, I'll take that. But
Mhm.
then you get to that place and you look around and you say, man, I have everything I wanted. I want more. And I
Mhm.
think the thing about money is, people say it's the root of all evil. And, there's definitely an element to that that's true, but yet you have to have it to survive as well.
Right.
So it's all about looking, keeping things in perspective. And I think that's why the holidays are such a great time, in between Thanksgiving and New Year's, because
Mhm.
during this time, you really reflect on what you're thankful for. And a lot of the times in the year, you're so focused on getting things and moving
Yeah.
forward and paying this off or being able to afford this, that you lose perspective on what you have. And I think that this is a really good time to look around and, like, if you have to make a list, like literally make a list of the things that you're thankful for, I think that's a good way to always keep things in perspective.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I do appreciate like putting just everything into perspective. I love that. So, let's switch gears a little bit. Like, you're a hilarious person. So, like, who are your favorite comedians and like who do you find funny besides me?
Well, you're obviously the funniest
If it's
person I know.
possible. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, who's a second?
Uh, well, I would have to say me, so I'm going to go with
Oh, right,
myself.
you're right. Yeah. Actually, you're
Uh,
first. You're first. Yeah.
oh, I'm first. Thank you so much. I was trying to be a polite
Okay.
gentleman, unlike most of the people in crypto. So
Right, that's true.
that is true.
Um,
Comedians, I don't watch a lot of stand-up comedy. I used to when I was younger. I liked Chris Rock. He was really funny. I always thought. Jim Gaffigan's, he's like
yeah, he's hilarious.
iconically funny. Obviously, people really like him.
Mhm.
I think Kevin Hart is really funny. I
Yeah.
like Kevin Hart. I think he's got, like, I don't know, he's very little, and he
Yeah.
always uses that to his advantage. One thing I really like in comedians is when it seems to come naturally for them and they're not trying to force it.
Yeah.
Some comedians, they'll get, like, put in a movie role that has them, like, seem like they're very family friendly, and
Mhm.
then you watch their stand up and they're not at all. It's almost like, what's that?
Yeah, I was just laughing.
Yeah, and it's like they try so hard to be vulgar and over the top and stuff that it comes across as not funny. So I like people that really just kind of like to stay in their niche and stay in their wheelhouse and, and be funny. I think that when people try too hard and it can be obvious, a great example is the movie Grown Ups. Have you seen this movie?
No, sorry. I was very sheltered as a child and I just don't watch movies anymore. But yeah, can you tell us what it is about?
Yeah, so Grown Ups they had Grown Ups 1 and Grown Ups 2, and maybe they're having a third one. And Grown Ups has a lot of funny comedians in it. It's got Adam Sandler, David Spade, Kevin James, Chris Rock, and some others. But that movie had so many funny comedians in it, but it was not funny at all. And the reason, to me anyways, I didn't like it a single bit. I turned it off halfway through because it felt like what they did is they took all the comedians and they said, okay, we want you to just take like certain parts of your stand-up act and put it as dialogue in the movie.
Oh man, that's
and
disaster.
It was a disaster. I didn't like it at all. So, however, all of those guys on their own are really funny in their stand-up and things like that. So, I just love it when humor is organic. I love dad jokes, I love being corny, like things that just kind of happen in the moment. People ask me, they're like, what's your favorite dad joke? And I'm like, I don't really have them because I just say them when they come up,
Yeah, that makes sense. So, let's switch gears a little bit more now because this is so fascinating. Because in your channel, in your Instagram, you do talk a little bit about like how Chinese cryptocurrency is and US cryptocurrency is, and it's hilarious to me because, all right, let's go to town on this. Like, what are your thoughts on like the cultural differences and just maybe like how these two countries are regulating this currency?
Yeah, so this is definitely a touchy subject because we are now entering into what a lot of us in crypto are calling the new space race, which is the race between China and the United States on who is going to have blockchain and cryptocurrency dominance. And it's frankly scary because China being a communist country, I mean, if they're able to take control and be the dominating force in cryptocurrency, this could be enough for them to, eat up at the United States lead in the world economy, because the United States has a lot of people think China and the United States are close in economy. It's not even close. United States is about 50% bigger than China in terms of economy, but cryptocurrency and blockchain could be a way that they could, eat into that if they're able to take the lead. In the United States, we've been really slow to regulate cryptocurrency, and China has seen that as an opportunity to go harder into crypto, because the more that we stumble, a lot of you guys may have heard of Facebook creating its own cryptocurrency called Libra. And Mark Zuckerberg was on Capitol Hill for several different times, him and other members of Facebook talking about this cryptocurrency. The United States government has had so much pushback against it that China has seen an opportunity. And so what I think we're going to see is, I think in the near future, we're going to see cryptocurrency become more of a political issue. And we're going to see people that are in favor of capitalism and growing our economy. We're going to see those people really push to speed up the regulation in the United States to make it easier. Because if we have blockchain, if you look at what happened over the last 20 years in terms of, call centers or jobs for corporations, they move them overseas because they can pay them a lot less, because it just didn't make sense for them to do it in America. And they're saving on taxes by moving to other countries as well. I'm afraid that's what we're going to see in cryptocurrency if we don't do something quick, where we're going to have incredible blockchain companies that move out of America because they're getting overregulated and they're not getting an opportunity to grow. And what that means is all the tax dollars from those companies are going to go to other countries instead of back here in America.
Wow. Thank you for that analysis. You guys, folks, you heard it here first, okay? We predicted this like 20 years before it's actually going to happen. I don't know how long. Thank you so much for that, because I do see it becoming, like you said, a political issue, and I'm curious to see how it unfolds, because I don't have dual citizenship. I had to renounce my Chinese citizenship, but we'll see. I'm gonna have to see where I can live in the future. So can you share what are all these like Ethereum and like Dogecoin? What are these weird names, and how can I know what to invest in?
Dogecoin. I love that pronunciation.
Yeah.
It's Dogecoin.
Doge. Oh, it's Doge? Really?
It's Doge. Yeah, it's Doge.
Man, I don't have a lot of real life friends. Can you tell?
Yeah, I can tell. No, it's okay. We actually had, for my podcast, we had someone writing show notes, and they heard us talking about Dogecoin, and they actually spelled it like DOCH coin. I was like, man, it's just one of those things, like you never think about how tricky the pronunciation of a word is when you're kind of in the niche or the space where it is, but outside, like it's really crazy. Dogecoin is actually a meme coin. So it was created based on a famous meme called the Doge meme. that has a dog. I can't remember the name, the kind
It's
of
a
dog.
Shiba Inu. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Shiba
yeah,
Inu
Shiba
dog,
Inu.
like
That's
an
right.
orange-looking Japanese dog.
Exactly.
Curly hair.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So, you just taught me about cryptocurrency, so I'm really excited about it.
yeah. That's shocking
Yeah,
and
it's
scary
shocking.
at the same time.
But yeah, so it's a meme coin, which basically just means that it's a community of people behind it. And this is what people have to understand about coins in general that are digital, including Bitcoin, which is they only have value because people say they have value. And a lot of people get tripped up on that. Like, oh, Bitcoin is just valuable because $150 billion have gone into it. Like, yes, people agree it has value and they're willing to put money into it. And that's why it has a market cap of right now. It should be, I think, about 130 billion for Bitcoin, only 200 billion for all of cryptocurrency. So it's serious money that's going into it. But with the US dollar, it's the same thing. The US dollar is not backed by gold. It hasn't been backed by gold since the Nixon administration. The only reason that the US dollar has value is because we agree that it has value. That's why if I go to Disney World and I buy a Coke, or if I go to my local gas station and buy a Coke, the price is different because at Disney World, everyone agrees the value of that Coke is much more than we agree when we go to Quick Trip. If we didn't agree, then that means that we wouldn't spend that money and Disney wouldn't be able to pay that price. So it's only based on what people are willing to value an item at. That if you look at inflation, that's why, an ice cream today is, $2, and your grandma tells you about when it was a penny. So that is why something like Dogecoin, that's just a meme, it has value. It has a very passionate group of people behind it. However, most of your cryptocurrencies today outside of Bitcoin, they have some kind of function or purpose. They're trying to do something specifically. So Ethereum runs what are called smart contracts, which are basically actions that get triggered by computer code. They don't need a person to get in the middle of them. So like if you wanted to call and pay a bill on, at your like a utility company, you have to call them or you have to do something online to actually get that payment in the system and to get it processed. With a smart contract, it would have that built into the code. Like when X happens, the Y result will come. So that's what a smart contract is. You have other coins that do things like Monero. Monero is what's called a privacy coin. They would argue to you that it's actually a better Bitcoin because with Bitcoin, a lot of people think that it's private transactions, like that it's completely anonymous. However, there are groups like a company called Chainalysis, which analyzes the blockchain. They're actually able to determine through a huge web of transactions where a transaction originated and where it got sent to. And based on other factors, they can actually determine who owns which address. So Bitcoin is not 100% anonymous, where something like Monero, it is anonymous. There's absolutely no way to tell, who sent a transaction. And there's tons of other cryptocurrencies out there that do all kinds of different things. I would tell everybody, invest first in Bitcoin. And once you start getting educated, then you can start making some judgment calls on, we call them altcoins, what altcoins you may want to invest in. I personally love altcoins, but a lot of them are down over 90% since the big bubble in 2017. So some people might look at it and say it's a great time to buy some of those. Other people might look and say, we don't really know where the floor is there and they could go down further. But I believe ultimately in a tokenized economy, a fully tokenized economy, where one day a store having its own cryptocurrency will be as common as a store having its own website.
Wow. You heard it here.
Heard it here first.
I feel like you're like the oracle. Like you're predicting the future right here. Thank you so much for just so much insights. It's getting me to thinking because it's still like a relatively new space. So I'm excited to see like how it actually goes. So how can you determine if a cryptocurrency conference or event is legitimate, if possible?
Well, I would say by the price. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, the more expensive the price, the more crazy and overblown it's going to be. A lot of conferences out there charging $900. Like I also have a website, bitboycrypto.com, where I cover crypto news. And so I get media passes. I get to go to all the conferences for free. Even if,
Oh, wow.
yeah, a lot of conferences invite me to come,
Mhm.
But if they don't, I can just reach out and say like, hey, I'd like a media pass and I can go for free. I wouldn't. So one I'm going to in the near future, I won't name it. I was looking at the prices and I was like, man, how are they charging $900 for someone to come to this
Mhm.
conference?
Right.
I would never pay that much. So I recently spoke at a conference called Chainwise,
Mhm.
and it was in Cincinnati, Ohio, put on by a crypto YouTuber named Jason Appleton, also
Mhm.
known as the Crypto Crow. And
Mhm.
he only charged $20 a day for people to come. And if
Oh,
you're interested in going to a crypto conference, go to one that you're not going to have to pay a lot to go to,
wow.
because you're going to have people that are much more passionate about cryptocurrency there,
Mhm.
because they're not there because they're getting a big paycheck. And so while I go to a lot of crypto conferences, I go
Mhm.
to almost every crypto conference.
Oh, wow.
I certainly would not ever pay, more than a couple $100 to go. So if you're interested in going, I would say look for one that's really about trying to educate. Now, if you're the type of person that gets in and you just want to like meet some of the popular Twitter accounts or some of the popular YouTubers, then you probably may want to go once a year and maybe go to one that's $700 or $800. I would say like dig around for a coupon code if you can. If that's what you want to do, is you want to go and meet some of the people that you follow and watch, then that can be kind of a cool thing for people to do. I know people in all niches like to do that. Go talk to the
Mhm.
popular YouTubers or whatever it might be. But I
Mhm.
would just definitely say try to look for the ones that are trying to do good and not make money.
I love that. Oh my God. I feel like me and all the listeners, we've just gotten way wealthier, either by saving money or knowing where to invest and just starting out. So, oh my God, thank you so much. So can you tell us more about the website and the, YouTube channel and the podcast that you run? You talked a little bit about it, and on your Instagram right now, you're running some sort of like contest. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, I'm doing a contest right now on Twitter. You guys can follow my Twitter, Bitboy_crypto. Giving away, I think $75, $25 to three different winners. I think it's three on my Twitter page. All you got to do is follow my handle, follow my podcast handle, which is at Beards Bitcoin, and then retweet the pinned post.
Mhm.
I do a lot of contests. That's definitely a way that I can kind of give back to my community
Mhm.
and also grow at the
Right.
same time. People call it growth hacking, but I like to give stuff away to people. I like to see people that can't afford cryptocurrency be able to make it or earn it. So that's something cool I like to do. But yeah, so I started my YouTube channel as actually a cartoon called Bitboy, and that's how everything started.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Tell us about the comics, because you have like a lot. Like, how did you get
yeah. So the comic is called Bitboy and Hodel, or Hodel. Hodel is basically a term we use in cryptocurrency. It was a misspelling of the word hold, where someone was talking about like he does better just holding cryptocurrency instead of trading it.
uh-huh.
And so Hodl is a turtle and Bitboy is a superhero. So the turtle is kind of like his loyal companion sidekick that, keeps Bitboy on track.
Mhm.
And I still have plans to make the full Bitboy animated cartoon series, but it's
Oh,
very
yeah.
expensive.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
gonna, yeah. Please make it happen. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I tried to animate. If you go back to the very beginning of my channel, like the first video, it's a cartoon that I made. But for me personally, like I'm not super artsy, I'm creative in some kinds of ways, like in puns. I'm very creative on puns, but I'm not as creative in like art. So it was hard for me to learn how to do it and do it to the quality I wanted it. So my friend was like, hey, how about you start covering crypto news? And so that's what I decided to start
Mhm.
doing. So in 2017, I started doing, or 2018 in January, I started doing my channel. I started covering cryptocurrency news. And so that's flowed over to my website, bitboycrypto.com, where we're covering at least one different crypto news story every day. We have some different resources on there. We are certified on Google News. So, we like to think of ourselves as a reputable news source for people that want to learn about cryptocurrency. And of course, I also have my podcast. Like I mentioned, Beards and Bitcoins. It is the crypto podcast for the man's man and the women who love them. So we talk about all kinds of different things on there. We don't get super techie. We talk guy stuff. We talk football, beards, barbecue, bikes, beer, the whole nine yards.
That's incredible. Wow. So, do you have a Bitcoin joke that I can steal for my stand-up routine?
A Bitcoin joke that you can steal for your stand-up routine.
Yes, it's a very specific request. but
that is a very specific request. And I feel like I probably have hundreds of them. But I would say probably if you just yelled BitConnect really loud, that would probably be enough to get a laugh from anyone that
Really?
knows anything about crypto.
What does that mean?
BitConnect. That's all you got to say at the end of your routine, and you would probably get a few laughs.
Really? Okay, can you explain? Because I'm so dumb in this, like I don't get it at all. Like, sorry.
So this is one of those rare moments where cryptocurrency transcended our niche and overflowed into the general public. So BitConnect was a giant Ponzi scheme in cryptocurrency where they basically promised to give you returns. If you let them borrow your Bitcoin, they would make returns through crypto trading, and they would be able to give you back what you gave them plus more, which is the exact definition pretty much of a Ponzi scheme. And so it turned out it was a huge Ponzi scheme, but they had a huge conference in, I think, December of 2017. And there was a guy, Carlos Matos. You guys can look him up. He just did the craziest stuff. He yelled so much about BitConnect. And there's a YouTube channel called Shmoyoho. Are you familiar with them?
Sorry, no. Sheltered Child. Don't know anything.
Sheltered Child. They're one of the biggest YouTube channels out there. I think they've got, they definitely have millions of subscribers. They do, if you've ever seen any auto-tuned videos where they take memes and turn them into videos, they're the channel that does that. So if you guys know like the Hide Your Wife, Hide Your Kids guy, they made that song.
Oh,
yeah. They make all of the popular auto-tune songs pretty much that are based off of viral videos. So they actually did a, best of 2017 video, and the Carlos Matos BitConnect meme actually made it in there. So if you just will type in Carlos Matos, Matos, BitConnect into YouTube, it is pure comedy gold for like 3.5 minutes straight of watching this guy yell. And one of the funny things he says in there is that he says, my wife doesn't even believe in this. And of course, shortly after this video, they got divorced. So true story.
Oh, did she get half of his Bitcoins?
Oh, no, he lost it all. It was a scam.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's kind of a sad tale, but it's also funny to laugh at.
Well, I guess that's karma. Can I say that?
I think you can. I think.
Oh man. Wow, this is so interesting. This is I have so many questions, but let me just ask a good one. So, what do you think makes if you feel comfortable sharing, like what do you think was the best investment you've made and what was the worst investment you've made?
Well, I would say that the worst investment that I made was actually not an investment. It was taking money off the table. So when I first got into Bitcoin, I was using it to buy the software that I talked about earlier. However, if I would have left the money that I spent on the software in Bitcoin and would not have spent it, it would have been worth about 9 figures. So unfortunately, I made a lot of money. I made a good amount of money when I sold my Bitcoin initially. But if instead of selling it, if I just would have hodled it, as we say, then I definitely would have been a lot better off than I am now. And I think that's a really powerful thing in cryptocurrency, which is realizing that if this really is the game changer that we think it is, that it just makes sense to just keep it, keep it. And I would say that was probably my worst investment was, even though I made a lot of money, was not keeping that money on the table. So I would say in terms of my best investment, I definitely invested in a crypto project called Tron, and it gets a good amount of hate. Some people may have heard of the of the founder. His name is Justin Sun. He actually paid $5 million for a lunch with Warren Buffett. It actually ended up making the news. They were talking about Warren Buffett at a crypto lunch. Long and the short of it is it never happened. And I actually got to eat the meal that Warren Buffett was supposed to eat. That's a whole nother crazy story, but it was like caviar and duck and all kinds of stuff. Because I got invited out to cover the event, and then the event didn't happen, but they had already paid for the lunch.
That's amazing. Did you talk on your podcast?
What's that?
Did you talk about it on a podcast episode?
I did some videos on it. I may have mentioned it on a podcast. I'm sure we did talk about it on a podcast at some point.
Okay. That's amazing.
But yeah, it's a very fascinating story. But Tron was a project that I invested in last year. I already had some investments, but I invested when it was down around a penny. And then it went up to like 3 pennies in like a couple of weeks. And I sold the top of it. And then of course it went back down, but that was definitely a good investment. The thing about cryptocurrency when you're trading and you're trying to make short-term gains instead of long-term gains is knowing that when you start feeling euphoric that the price is going to keep going up forever, that's when it's going to drop.
That's good advice. So how can we learn more about you? How can we stalk you? What are some of the projects that you're working on? Just to reiterate for our listeners, where can we find you and work with you?
Well, definitely come hit me up on TikTok. TikTok is a place that I'm spending a lot of time. I'm really focusing on content there. My plan on TikTok is to make funny videos. And so if you're not into cryptocurrency, then that's a place you definitely want to follow me on. So you can see just my random weird TikToks that I make. Some have blown
Hilarious,
up.
guys. It was hilarious. I was laughing all morning just watching it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I have several videos there that have gone, over 500,000 views, some over 2 million. So which is really crazy because I got more views there than I have on my YouTube channel in 2 years. But it's just because there's so much demand for content on TikTok. And you can find me there at Bitboy Crypto. So my plan there is to kind of build that platform and then weave cryptocurrency more into it as I get a bigger platform there. So that way I can kind of grow audience, but also teach a younger generation about cryptocurrency. Of course, you can hit me up on my YouTube channel, Bitboy Crypto, my podcast, Beards and Bitcoins, Twitter and Instagram, both Bitboy_crypto. Those are all of the different, platforms that I pretty much make noise on. I also have a Telegram group called the Bit Squad. It's just t.me/Bit Squad if you ever want to come in there. And I'm very accessible. So if you hit me up on any of these platforms and you want to talk or you want to know about, something, or maybe you bought some cryptocurrency, you don't know what to do with it. I definitely enjoy helping people, not without any expectation of a return. So.
Wow, and I just want to do a shout out. You have 18.2 thousand followers already, and you kind of just started on TikTok, so that's freaking amazing. And then you also are on, I found you on Instagram, and then you have oh my gosh, you have 15,000 followers already. So you run the podcast, run the face, YouTube, you're just dominating the Bitcoin space. And I really thank you for to be on my podcast. I learned so much, and I can't imagine how much our listeners got values out of it. Because I feel like, Bitcoin is interesting, but I also wanted a really great teacher to explain it. So thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it, guys.
The website is bitboycrypto.com. That's bitboycrypto.com, bitboycrypto.com.
Check out everything that Ben has said, and I want to thank you so much for your time and hope to see you on future episodes.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been fun.